Hello, hello, hello. It's Jeremy, the e-commerce redneck, and today we have a special guest, Oli Pettigrew. Is that how you say it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. And he is that Englishman in Texas, and I'm super excited to talk to you today. Oli, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do.
Well, there you go. You pretty much boiled it down. But essentially, I am, as described by one of my followers, it's the nicest thing anyone's ever said, by the way, is the David Attenborough of Texas. So essentially, about sort of 3 years ago, after working in TV for 17 years, first internationally and then nationally here in the States, I ended up back here in Texas, unemployed for the first time in my life.
Mm.
And I was looking for, what do I do? Where am I going to fit in? How am I going to find something to do in Texas? And I just sort of started making videos. What's one thing I do is I'm a storyteller. I'm a video creator. I've always been good at doing this, but I've always had like a crew. In this case, it was all on me, all on my shoulders. And so I just realized that as someone who has been coming to Texas for 20 years, speak fluent Texan, but I'm not one of them, maybe I can tell Texas stories
Well,
from a sort of perspective.
You
British perspective.
recently may have fixed that, though, right? You got baptized as a Texan.
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, I did that. I mean, that's a great example, actually, is that when I started doing this, you'd be surprised how many people come up to me and they're just like, man, I lived in this part of Texas for like 20 years and I had no idea. And it's like, it's finding those smaller stories that have actually got a big Texas stamp to them. So that's like, right, so Huntsville, Texas, that's where Sam Houston is buried. That every year in Huntsville on Texas Independence Day, which is March 2nd, but also my wedding anniversary, that's how I remember, is you can be baptized as a Texan. And so I went there and there were like 20, 30 people from all walks of life, other countries, other states doing this as well. And it's like, when Texans see that, they're like, I had no idea. Like, it's crazy. And that's one of my favorite things to hear from any Texan followers when they've learned something about Texas history or about a town or a place in that town they didn't even realize. Like the guy that did my cowboy hat, but his custom made cowboy hat. It's amazing. This video still, every day I get comments on it. It's one of those videos that's just stuck around for 2 years. It just constantly grows. But I had that very thing. I live half a mile from this place. I didn't know it was there.
It's wild. And, Austin's a lot like that too. All over Texas, there's interesting people, companies. I always tell people that Texans are Texans first, then they're Americans.
Yeah. They absolutely, like if you meet a Texan overseas, that's how you know. So there's only, basically the 48 contiguous United States. Texas is the only state that does that. The only other two states where you'll get it different is Hawaii and Alaska.
Right.
But yeah, you meet a Texan overseas and if you meet anyone else that go, I'm from the States, Texans are like, I'm from Texas. It's next to the United States. And but it's a really fascinating part of the Texas mindset. And honestly, that's what really kind of got me going to begin with, is like pointing out these things about the Texas mindset, pointing out these interesting things about how Texas history has influenced the way that Texans see themselves, the way that Texans just see themselves in general. And I just get so many messages from Texans going, man, this guy really gets us. Like, why is this British guy teaching me stuff about like my state that I didn't even know? And it's like, it's sort of, I've got this whole sort of brand really, like, it's the adopted Texan. And it's one of those things that Texas and Texans have very much adopted me. They're like, they really appreciate that. One, I clearly enjoy living here. Two, I tell a good story. But three, I treat the place with a lot of respect.
Yeah, man. Respect goes a long ways in Texas.
Big time.
Speaking of your brand, I am the e-commerce redneck, so I like to talk a little bit about e-commerce. How did that come about? What's the deal with your brand? How's that going?
Funny enough. So yeah, I mean, like I'm wearing one of my hoodies right now. So one of my best mates, I do a podcast with him and my movie podcast, but
okay.
He's a graphic designer by trade. He's a very, very, very good graphic designer. Like he works for like big stuff, big companies. But he just like, I asked him, hey man, could you do me some branding? Yeah. I guess he's like, no drama, mate. And so he designed me all my logos, everything. He then designed me like, I sent him ideas. So I came up with all these ideas of like, oh, putting the tea in Texas. And he's like, makes the Texas tea bag kind of thing. And so I came, like all these ideas, but he made them real. And he just like the next day, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Here you go. And so actually, so the way it works is that like with my merch is one of the absolute very, 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 very first people to reach out to me when I was, my Instagram had about 5,000, things like that. But I just like, had a couple of videos go viral. was this really small company. When I say really small, it's just like me. It's one guy, George. He lives just north of Houston. He's got a clothing brand called BTB and Co, Born Texas brand.
Okay.
Right. And so he creates all this sort of like text and theme stuff. And he's like, hey man, would it be great? Like, can I just send you some stuff? And I was like, yeah, please do. And so I just started wearing his stuff in my videos, and we just became mates, you know?
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
so essentially he's like, I often help out Texas brands or work with Texas brands, but BTB and Co is one that I just partnered up with. So when I was getting started and people asking about merch, I didn't have any sort of capital to be able to sort of create like
You
an
were looking
inventory.
for a job, not looking to pay.
Right. So I couldn't have any inventory or fulfillment. And so he's like, no, I'll produce your merch for free. So to begin with, it was just a way for people to buy stuff to support, not even support my channel, but just to kind of like have people walking around in your brand.
Yeah.
Which is just like free advertising. And so he, still does. So if you want to buy any of my merch, you just go to BTB and Co. I don't mind. Like I said, I'm helping a guy out that's trying to get started. He was one of the first guys that came to me as I was helping him get started. And it's just one of those things that it's just a thing that we do. Like, whereas now he's like, okay, Oli, like I want to start sending you residual sort of like, payments sort of kind of thing. So that's where we're working towards. But honestly, it just started off as two individual sort of entrepreneurs kind of helping each other out.
Yeah, man, I am a serial entrepreneur myself. I've been involved with a lot of different companies, so I know exactly what you mean. And sometimes a project's just right. It's the right thing to do or the right person to do it with. So, but yeah, so what brought about this particular That Englishman in Texan persona? What brought that up?
Well, it's interesting enough. Like it's actually we were talking about before we start recording, but it's not a persona. It's just me.
It's just you. Okay.
And that's the thing is in television, I found my voice pretty quickly, and I was very successful in television, like 16, 17 different shows. My shows are shown in pretty much every continent on planet Earth, apart from Antarctica, unless they had satellite TV, then it might. But what I found very quickly is this, like, the best way to do television is just by being your authentic self, because the audience can spot a fake, even if they don't understand why they know. It's just a human nature thing of knowing when someone's being genuine or not. And it's just the best way to connect. When I did TV, I did a lot of this. So I would look at camera. Like when I'm doing interviews or what, I would start involving camera or something. I'd be doing Lonely Planet and something had happened. And I'd turn the camera and they called it pulling an ollie, but I would boil it down really quickly for the audience to help catch them up to what's been really said, what's happening and how I'm feeling. And I sort of discovered that it really connected with people. I knew that because when people would come up and recognize me and they start talking, they're like, wow, you're just like you are on television. That's really cool.
And that's one of the first things I think I said to you too. You seem like exactly who you are on socials.
It's exactly, but it is. It's just I'm very, very authentically myself. I mean, granted, when I do my online videos, much like television, I don't swear as much as I do. I'm British, but but also it's like my approach is twofold. One is about letting people. It's the vicarious experience, right? When people watch my content and the things and the adventures I go on, I like them to understand how it makes me feel, because it's how it's going to make them feel. So I don't ever really sort of plan my videos. So when I work for clients, they go, so what's the video going to be like? I go, I don't know. And they go, what do you mean? I go, I'm going to let the story come to me. So I don't ever go in with an assumption of what the video is going to be. So the very first time I walk in or arrive in the city, I'm rolling. When I walk into a building, I'm rolling. When I meet someone for the first time, I'm rolling. When I take my first bite or my first sip or whatever, I'm just rolling to get my authentic reaction. I don't set up a moment and get the lights just so, and then sort of do a sort of posy bite of the burger or anything else like that.
Half the time when I want to show somebody, because we're at my friend's house, Crawford, in north of Austin, and he's a foodie and I'm a foodie, and when I want to show him something, sometimes I'll take a bite and then I'd send him a picture. I would be a horrible food a social person, because I see it and I eat as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and so that's the one, is the vicarious experience, and the other one is that my approach to the thing is that it's basically y'all means all. My page is for everybody. the algorithm is really specifically designed to divide people and push people apart, make them angry and afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just the way the 1% controls people. And I'm like, I try to be a palate cleanser. I try to show people all of the things that we all agree on. I try to remind people that we actually agree on 99% of things 99% of the time. And that is the one sentiment I get most from people is when I get messages, just people saying it's the positivity.
Yeah.
It's the positive content, it's the unifying content. And it's just people find it very refreshing. And I just genuinely think people need that. And trust me, you better believe it frustrates me that I can see that really low hanging fruit, divisive people online have got 50 million followers and they're making all the money in the world and grinding this out as like the British Mr. Rogers of tech. But it's just also, it enables me to sleep at night. I want to make the world better, not worse. I want to show a better way of doing things, not a worse way of doing things. I want to be a positive influence for my children, not a negative one. So, when I was lost about 3 years ago, and like I said, first time unemployed ever. Television has changed. Imagine climbing a mountain, becoming one of the best guys to ever climb that mountain, getting to the top of the mountain, and then the mountain doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And now you got to climb another mountain from scratch. And I'm like, well, I've got this skill set. And that's, I think, the thing that's helped me grow quickly, but also like I get a lot of brand work, working with lots of brands and things like that, is that I've 17 years of television experience as a storyteller, but I also know how to edit and everything else. That's what made me a really good TV host, is I understood what we needed,
right?
How to tell the story. Anytime I'm in a sort of scene or we're trying to build and tell a story, I've got the timeline in my head. And I'm seeing what we have and we don't have. So I know that we need a bit here, we need a bit here. And so now doing it all myself, this is my entire production studio.
Yeah.
It is realizing what B-roll I need. And knowing when I've got it.
Yeah.
So I tell people, like, no, I can turn up. Like I said, I'll be done within the hour. But if you really want, I can sit in your lobby and I can give you the video 45 minutes later. And I do sometimes. I'll turn around the video the same day and give it to them. And it's like, but when they get it, they're like, oh, wow, you really know what you're doing. And whereas, not to just dog on anyone, but like, the internet is filled with people. It's like, it's just so many voices. And so to have your voice be one that people can pick out of the crowd is you got to either have a voice or you got to be good at what you do. Fortunately, I'm both, but you watch some creators and they're chopping up their video. And it's like every 8 seconds, every 6 seconds, it's cut. And it works. Some people watch it, but if you watch my videos, it'll be a 3-minute sort of monologue.
Right.
I can come up with a script. I can remember it pretty much instantly. I can do it in 1, maybe 2 takes, which makes my edit so easy. I just drop it in, get my subtitles. But even when I do the more complicated stuff, like I said, it's knowing what to shoot, knowing what you need.
It's a different kind of self-aware, really, is what it is.
Yeah, it's hard to not overshoot, and it's hard to not, it's hard. And trust me, like, my wife, she's getting started in it now, and like she was a television host as well, but she never did the editing, and she's really like growing. She's learning real quick. She's like, oh wow, yeah, I didn't need all that. Like, wow, I need a couple of shots to cover that. And I'm like, yeah, all you really need, like get 10, 12 cutaways, 3 or 4 pieces to camera. That's already a 3-minute video. People are bored after that anyway. Make it quick, make it snappy, but make it fun. And, that's what my sort of content has become. Like I thought maybe I'd do 15, 20 videos when I came up with the idea. I've done 600. And it's like every Monday through Friday now for 3 years. I've only done 5 days, I think, in the entire 3 years where I didn't post something new.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because my wife's like, oh, you worked in television, burnt out, and now you work every single day. And then you work weekends doing your podcast, you idiot.
Right.
And I'm like, good point. So I've become very good about learning to give myself time.
It can be easy to be a workaholic too, if you're not.
Yeah. Especially like I said, when you're the one doing it.
Yeah.
And like you're the only one responsible.
Is it rewarding for you? How do you feel about it? How's it affected your life? Because I know, I feel like I used to have a friend that was a preacher, and he'd always say that, relationships are like bank accounts. If you're always putting into people, then when you have to pull out, it's not such a big deal because you have money in the bank.
Right.
Whereas if you're overdrawn because you're a jackass or something, that kind of puts you in a different place. I mean, has the positivity also helped you to stay positive, to keep the right mindset, to not get down?
Yeah, big time. It's a good question actually, because to begin with, it was just, I got into it because, well, we need to pay the bills. We were like, it was the best laid plans of mice and men and fan, as Robbie Bones would say. So when we had backup plans from I lost my job, but we had this property backup plan. And I also had this other business that I built with my friend's backup plan. But we had the 1, 2, 3 punch of that went wrong, and that went wrong, and that went wrong all at the same time.
Gee.
And so no matter how, so we, like I said, when I came back to Texas, I landed flat on my back, completely screwed. And it was Texas that helped lift me up. It was the Texas community around me. It was friends, new friends, neighbors, and family that just they would come over, or they drop something off, or they come by and they'd install something in my house. And it was just like, and that's where the actual initial idea came from, because outside of Texas, people think they know what Texas is, and they're so wrong. And I started seeing just how misunderstood the state was. And that was one of my first videos, was it was talking about that sort of very thing. And the way that I told it, the parable, if you will, was through the sort of the medium of like asking people what the state motto of Texas is. 95% of Texans don't know. Do you know what the state motto of Texas is?
Friendship, but I learned it from you.
There you go. But that's a great thing. Is that Texans are the friendliest place. Texans are the friendliest people I've ever met. It's the friendliest place I've ever lived. There's no hyperbole to that whatsoever. And so I decided, like, all right, I'm going to fight Texas's corner and sort of tell that sort of story. But honestly, about 9 months in, my wife actually asked, "Ollie, are you being serious?" I go, "What do you mean? Do you really enjoy like living in Texas?" I'm like, "Oh no, I love it." I said, I've really connected with the place. So that, 3 years in, because for a lot of people, the world is a very, very dark place right now. It's very scary for a lot of people. It's kind of just like people are just looking around and shaking their heads going, how has this happened? How have we ended up here? And it's happening all over the world. And it's like, I was definitely one of those people just lost in the doom scroll of just like, this is terrible. And that's why I'm like, you can sit there and bitch about it all you want. Or you could try and be a sort of an engine of change or an engine of positivity. And I'm like, well, I can do something. So this is what I do. It's like, all right, I've got 350,000 followers, right? But that's 350,000 people that I can cheer up every day, or make laugh, put a smile on their face, sometimes educate, teach. And it's like, but done in a way that's like not preachy or anything like that. I go, hey, do you want to know something interesting? Or I just learned this today. And sort of come along on this journey with me. And it enables people to be very open. And the thing about being British is, and doing the y'all means all approach, is that people don't come in with any assumption of, well, I don't like this guy because he believes this. Or I can't like that guy, he believes that. It's like, again, it's that manipulation that I was talking about, that divisive control. Put people into teams, make them hate each other, get them distracted, and then take all their money is basically like the approach. But like I said, because of why and how I tell my stories, everyone's like, no, I like this guy. And I'm like, yeah, remember when we can like be like human beings with each other? And that's why I like going to these small towns and going to these events and finding these unique places, because everyone just sits down and talks. And that's when everyone reminds and remembers we actually agree. We agree about brisket, and we agree about football, and we agree about music, and we agree about this, that, and the other. And it's like the 1% of things that we don't agree on is what the 1% uses to control. They just manipulate. And so that it's become now this point that my general mental health, I've been very, very, very aware of my mental health in the last 5 years. I kind of had like a bit of a meltdown about 5 years ago from just working really hard, and COVID on top of it. And then I've been having all of these like night sweats for decades. And then I started getting panic attacks. And the long story short was Ted Lasso taught me that I was having panic attacks. But 2, I actually able to figure it out myself, that it was suppressed PTSD from some pretty bad sort of moments from when I was in boarding school as a kid that were coming out of out of nowhere. Your brain is such a fascinating place that no matter how much you try and sort of it's eventually going to come back. And so in my early 40s, like I was able to sort of really look in the mirror and realize this is what's going on, and then talk about it, and go to Thailand and talk to my parents about it and go, hey, just for a minute, a 15-year-old boy is going to talk to you for the next like hour or so, just FYI. And I need to talk about this. 15-year-old me is angry that you weren't there to protect me, and just got it all out. And then all went away. All the night sweats went away. All the panic attacks went away. And so when I started understanding that you really do have to be aware, and I was just I'm such an open guy anyway, but I'm even more open now. So I'll be very open with my children. You know, when I do talk to them about stuff, it's always like, let me tell you about the mistakes I made.
Right.
You know, when you were raised, you were told, why? Just because I said so.
Yeah.
Whereas with my kids, I go, this is why, this is the mistake I made. And this is why I'm giving you the advice. Don't make the same mistake I did, because this is the only reason I know is because I messed up. So now, instead of putting myself up here, I put myself on them, their level of going, no, I'm just like you. In fact, you know, I made worse mistakes. And it's just like,
I was lucky that my kids did not repeat my behavior.
right. But I think the only reason and why of that is by being open and communicative. And so that's how, when it comes to the sort of my approach to talking to people and my approach to making videos, is it's all just wide open. And it's like, I don't make fun of people. I have fun with people. If I'm going to make fun of anybody, it's myself. I'm a very self-deprecating person.
I think you've worn off on, what is it? John and Jace?
Josh and Jace.
Josh and Jace.
Yeah.
They are fascinated with Texas. I was watching a video earlier. They were in El Paso and just loving, you know, being up on the mountain, seeing all the lights. And it is really pretty. The El Paso has a lot of really good food places too. But I love that. I thought that was cool that you kind of were turning them on to stuff and talking to them.
Yeah, no, that was cool. We bumped into each other. Like, I reached out to them on TikTok a couple of years ago. So we met up. So they're actually, I know they're in the Pacific North. They're in the East Coast at the moment. Their Texas ones are from a couple of years ago. But
really? I didn't know.
So they kind of like, so this is the interesting thing, right? So the reason what they do is they're now using their old content, bringing it back around. And the thing is, that's smart. And I only do that on a Saturday and a Sunday. I'll take old videos and I'll put them up on my Facebook. And I've started doing them on Instagram as well. There's a thing called trial reels. But the thing is, I've got 600 videos. Right? But of those 600 videos, 450, 500 of those videos were only seen by 20 to 30,000 followers. Now I've got 350,000 followers. So 80% of my followers haven't seen 75% of my content.
And you can like doom scroll looking at your content. Cause I was trying to like go back all the way to see what your first ones were like. And I was like, I'm never going to get there this morning.
I like that you bring that up.
Awesome.
Cause I was just a keynote speaker at the Texas Festival and Events Association. Right. And so it was about me talking to them about sort of social media. And that's the cool thing, is that, you know, 3 years ago, I was an expert communicator, but I wasn't an expert at social media. But like 3 years later, now people are like, no, this guy's built a brand from zero. Right. And now everybody in the room knows who I am. And so I'm sort of like able to talk about it. But that's actually one of the things I brought about, was like, go back and look at my first videos, because the biggest barrier to people when it comes to social media, when it comes to their own social media marketing for their brand or their business or whatever, is they're sitting there and they're like going, well, I don't know what to do. And what if it's this? And what if it's that? And they wait for it to be perfect. And I say the number one thing that I can tell you, the number one most important lesson in social media marketing is just start.
Yeah.
That is the hardest part.
Right.
Because start and then follow it up with another one. And then another one. And then what you're going to do is you're going to start learning all these things about, okay, that one didn't work, but that one did work. And then, I need to get my hook in the first 5 seconds. Oh, you know what? I need to actually like have a cohesive brand. So you'll see my videos in the first sort of like the first 6-7 weeks of being that Englishman. I'm trying out different things. I'm like, wait, this. No, people seem to really connect with the stories. Okay, cool. Oh, you know what? People actually like the subtitles, because people like to watch videos on mute while sitting on the toilet at work. So, all right, there we go. Put a subtitle so people can watch it with the sound off, or if they're just in a room and they don't want people
always check your subtitles.
Yeah, 100%. It drives me crazy when people don't proofread their subtitles, because it's absolutely nuts. And then so you'll see now, if you go to my feed, I've got the same font, the same yellow. You can spot that Englishman from a mile away. Yeah. I've got the branding at the end that hits every time. That's how I end my videos. But that was a journey. But the only way to get here was to do the journey. You can't get here without that. Right. And everyone's trying to just go straight to that. And so that's like that one thing that was my number one thing when I was doing the keynote, is like, every single one of you just needs to start. You got to find your voice. But that's the thing. And a lot of it as well is like, so much is about bringing your face to your brand and out to your people, because when they see you, they get to know you. When they get to know you, they get to trust you. And that's where, when you build the trust, that becomes what your brand is. And so to sort of look back, and my buddy, I remember I was at his place in Singapore, completely, like I said, lost. And he was just saying, you know what, Oli, like, how do you eat a dinosaur? I go, I don't know. He goes, one bite at a time. And he's like, you're going to take a bite, and then you're going to take another bite and another bite. And he goes, and then 3 years from now, you're going to look back and you go, how the hell did I eat this dinosaur? Look where I am. And he's like, he was 100% right. You've got to just trust the process. And you got to just stick to it. And so, 3 years later, this is what I do as a job now. And it's like, this year's been great. I'm at that point now where I'm like, I'm so close to, but I need a team. I need help, because I reply to every email that comes to my phone. That's how you and I connect. Yeah. But every like, every share, every liked share, every comment, everything on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, Threads is me. Every single upload is me. I edit every video, I shoot every video, I come up with every concept. I'm doing invoicing, I'm doing schedules, and so like, it's just at that point, like at some point, I'm going to need. I've now got 2 friends, actually, 2 very good friends. One's an expert in PR, one's an expert in sort of like branding and strategy. And they're based out of Waco, and they've come on board as in, they're like, Oli, you need help. We're going to help you. They're not asking for any money. They're like, no. We're going to build your brand because we see how big it can be. And then you're going to pay us. And I'm like, cause they just see the potential in it. And they're really they're good people, and they're really good friends of mine. And
sometimes that's the way to go. I've done some of that in the e-commerce world too, and same discipline applies in that. But man, it's been really good to have you come down. Very thankful for you to come all the way down here to hang out with.
Well, it's like I was telling you, that's the Texas mindset of it. Yeah. It's just down the road. Yeah. It's like, anything I can do to avoid I-35 as well, I will do. But no, back in the day, and when I lived in Singapore, I wouldn't even go 15 minutes sometimes. It's so far. Whereas now I'm like, it's only 100 miles. What am I going to do today? Yeah,
you got to be used to driving in Texas if you're traveling around, because you can stay in the state all day long driving.
2,000 miles in the last 5-6 weeks just around the state, all for different clients, different work, different stories. And I barely even scratched the surface of Texas. I mean, I've been doing this 3 years. I reckon I could do it 30 and still just be doing Texas.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So many towns, so many stories. And, it's interesting. A lot of people don't realize, but only about a third of the state was established up until about 80s, And, West Texas, where I grew up, man, it's almost a different culture completely from East Texas. Still the Texas culture, but there's variations within Texas.
You've got to want it.
It's incredible.
In West Texas. It's kind of what I was talking about when I was in Terlingua. I finally understood. I rolled in, I started meeting these people, and I'm like, all right, I get it. And it's honestly my biggest video from the last 2 weeks. I think it's about 300,000 on Facebook now, but it's just talking about the idea of the West Texas mindset is different. You've Terlingua, Texas ain't for everyone, but Terlingua ain't for every Texan.
No.
And then the kind of people you find in Terlingua are a real special breed.
Yeah.
Talking about that, and, that's all come from my world travels and stuff, and working for Lonely Planet and Food Network, and just always being in different cultures and learning from them. Mm-hmm. And it's a really interesting lens to look through things at. But that's the video that West Texas has really been like, oh man, this guy gets us. And I get it. So, I've got to start spending some more time out West Texas.
Well, if you ever make it to Odessa, you got to see a Permian High School football game.
They invited me. They
reached
out. They were actually playing in Waco, and the coach invited me. I just wasn't able to go. But classic. That was
well, you got to visit when you're in West Texas, because we have a football stadium called Ratliff Stadium that was nicer than most of the college stadiums before. And so it's pretty interesting. It's a cool story. And there's that school had so much excellence in their sports, and they really taught hey man, we expect excellence out of you. And so I came to Austin 12 years ago, started working for Big Commerce, and I came in there. I was like, man, my high school had this motto, Mojo, and it really meant teamwork. It was the team spirit thing. And it really was just teamwork in action. Almost, when you would have people come out to the games, you would hear them chanting Mojo. And it was almost like what is it? The Islanders do, Pacific Islanders do that
Yeah,
haka
the
dance
haka,
or whatever.
yeah.
And stop the haka dance. And yeah, it's kind of similar intimidation, I think, in my mind, because, you know, they start hearing that chanting of the Mo Joe.
Oh, mate, I was just at the College Station. You know, we were at the Aggies game. We got hosted by the Aggies for the full weekend. It was insane. And, but yeah, like to actually hear the 12th man in Kyle Field, I was like, wow, that is intimidatingly fun.
Well, we're going to disappoint them next week down here in Austin.
Oh, yeah.
They are good people. I will say this. My wife is an A&M fan, and her boss was on the Board of Regents at A&M. So I have no chance of converting her.
The howdy hospitality of the Aggies was like as friendly as Texans are. The Aggies took it to a whole new level.
Yeah. I mean, they definitely, and it's kind of a small town kind of mentality with a big college.
With a gargantuan 200 college.
I've got a niece and a nephew that is going next year. And then I've got a niece at UT.
And so the whole college, I mean, like, you know, the Texas college football rivalry, you know, it's great fun because, like, you know, Texans like, well, no one does football like Texas, but then you get into it. I still think that high school football, I think, is the purest kind. Though I think the best, like, to watch is college.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then I couldn't care less about the NFL.
No,
I find it so boring.
The only reason I ever watch an NFL game is to see one of the college kids play.
Right. Yeah. I mean, honestly, I think the only NFL game I've watched for years has just been the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, watch any regular season, whereas college, like, I'll watch it when it's on because there's kids, they're playing with heart. No, I'm not saying the NFL don't, but that's their profession. They don't want to get injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why the games in college are just so much more exciting.
They are. They absolutely are. Well, Oli, thank you so much for coming down here. It's great to finally meet you, and I enjoy your socials. And guys, if you can check out That Englishman in Tech. And you have anything else you want to plug before we?
Well, if you guys like movies, I also do a movie podcast called The United States of a Movie, where every week we try to find one movie to define each state in the United States. We're currently on our second trip around the states. I mean, like talking Texas. Like our reigning champ for 2 years now has been Friday Night Lights.
There you go.
It is the movie. It's really, really fun to do. And if you like movies, we'll introduce you to a whole heap you never even heard of.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And we'll see you soon.